And there's a science and art of making diagrams, and especially today we'll be talking about ethics. And ethics में all these ornamental things make a lot of difference. Otherwise, ethics हर कोई same लिखता है. It was a 2016 का question. And similarly, if you see, I have a lot of things about attitude, aptitude, couple of diagrams for this is again. So let's say there's a diagram where you're telling there's a growth and there is a stagnancy for some time where you are in that zone and then again you grow and so on and so forth. The convergence of people, planet and profit to show that industry and sustainability go hand in hand. It's a very common diagram that a lot of us do. Decision that a DM has to take, and he's been given that whether you take like decision favored to party A or party B, but you tell that it's not enough to take the stakeholders A and B in consideration, but you'll have to enlarge the stakeholders here. So apart from A and B, you have, let's say, the constitutional ideals. Hello everybody. So this is something which is pretty unconventional that this video will deliver. We tend to listen a lot of times that the importance of diagrams and a lot of theories around it कि कितने बनाने चाहिए, कितने नहीं बनाने चाहिए, overusing it, underuse of it. A lot of that, but let's keep all those debates and everything at bay. But what is important is to understand is कि if you're using any diagrams per se, there has to be a science of it, right? There has to be an art of it. And it's true that you cannot really like do a lot of your diagrams on the spot and you go with a lot of preparation. But I think when you talk about kya, you go prepared with a lot of diagrams, a lot of aspirants and a lot of even like the rank holders including me would cram up this diagrams ki agar EI hai, ethical emotional intelligence hai, to uska ye diagram hai. If it's about ethical capitalism कुछ है तो उसका ये diagram है. But UPSC में if you see whatever we would have crammed up, it would have covered like less than 10% वो question में आएगा. So you could only utilize 10% of the diagrams जो आप रट के गए होंगे and you can use that. And it's a fact that if you're making very relevant and very creative diagrams, you are saving up your time, you are grabbing the attention of your examiner. I mean, I do not have to explain how diagrams could help you fetch better marks, right? But my idea is that we tend to ratify all these diagrams, and that's not the right way to do about it. And there's a science and art of making diagrams, and especially today we'll be talking about ethics. And ethics में all these ornamental things make a lot of difference. Otherwise, ethics हर कोई same लिखता है. Everybody, does not matter how ethical or unethical they are in their lives personally, but उस time पे तो everybody is like top notch 100% ethical person. तो but I think वो diagrams and everything makes a difference. But again वही कि we'll try to discuss the various constructs, various frameworks and various philosophies behind the way we can make structures, make diagrams, which you can do impromptu for any particular topic. But uska wo you have to get just the meta philosophy behind a diagram, and उसी meta philosophy of the diagram को use करके you can mold into कुछ भी topic पूछा गया है, be it about EI जिसके पास आपका diagram था, या फिर on some random topic जिसके पास आपने diagram नहीं बनाया था आपके notes में, but you will be able to do that. And वो ज़्यादा time also नहीं लगेगा because the thought process, because you'll be clear with the idea and philosophy and the construct of making the type of diagrams we'll discuss here as well. This is something what a lot of MBA people do, a lot of consultancy folks do, where they try to convey their messages in more creative, more direct and way that internalizes to the audience in a more effective way. So the philosophy remains the same, how we could use those consultancy tips and tricks in ethics today. So this is going to be a fun video. I hope that you get something unconventional rather than very routine things that your YouTube feed must have been have gathered throughout. So we'll go through a couple of these diagrams, and I'll also give a context because we're reading for UPSC, right? So I'll give a context of ki kaun se PYQs where you could use this, and probably you'll get your horizons to you can expand those horizons by your thoughts as well and can be creative. But we'll talk about these constructs and frameworks. Very simple one. If you're talking about these pyramids, right, where This is basically something which is more desirable, or this is something which is very basic or very common. And that is the reason the area for the bottom up one is also large, and it's a arrow mark which is going and ascending towards the top, which is probably going and attaining nirvana. So think like that. These are common folks, and here probably we have Lord Buddha. So the idea behind this is something like that. But for example, you're getting a question on ethics mein, on governance, on good governance and ethical governance. There was a PYQ on this as well. It was a 2016 ka question. And similarly, if you see, you have a lot of things about attitude, aptitude, you have X, good X and ethical X. So you have this diagram, like you have to understand that कि सिर्फ आपने जो पढ़ा होगा for attitude, aptitude and ethics, या फिर on actions, laws and principles, ऐसे construct के लिए सिर्फ नहीं, but you can put this, the theory being कि anything which is very basic to ascending towards something which is desirable, उसके लिए you can put this. For example, for the governance वाला पे, this is governance, this is good governance, and this is ethical governance. Similarly, where you could have like you have to show anything, like for example, what should be the role of women, or let's say the kind of participation you'd like to see in governance ke structures pe. You could show something which is very relevant and contemporary, and how you could have a more progressive society and what you want to attain. So similar things where yahan pe you got this keywords directly: governance, good governance, ethical governance. But where let's say you want to transcend from what are the importance, let's say there would be a question on what are the importance components for a good life, let's say. I mean, these abstract type of questions come in ethics as well. So you have this is basically replicating Maslow's needs or pyramids, right? Something which is very basic at the bottom and something which is desirable at the top. So this is one philosophy of making a diagram, which you can mold it into various approaches to. So the second one, the construct that we would discuss, for example, when it's about growth or evolution, like a couple of diagrams for this is again. So let's say there's a diagram where you're telling there's a growth and there is a stagnancy for some time where you are in that zone, and then again you grow, and so on and so forth. So for example, you have to show that kindness as a virtue. There's a topic on ethics, if it have come or anywhere, and you show like across the x-axis when it's time, how kindness develops. It develops from, it gets transformed when you're pity, then you stay in that zone, and then you start sympathy, and then you have empathy, and then you have compassion. So similarly, when you see a transformational change, transformation could be also in terms of not just for ethics, but let's say you can use this for society, how society has evolved. Or let's say there was a question on in 2023 society paper, what are the reasons why across the years there's more suicide among young women. So you can have a graph as well, like on different phases, like phase 1, which is let's say 1980s mein, phase 2 in 1990s and early 2000, and then early millennium, and this is 2020 plus. And you show ki the graph has improved, like has gone up for the suicides of young women, but you write the examples here. Here you mention influence of globalization and everything. Here about social media and bullying, the major reasons. So you can put here the major reasons and so that it's growing, because the main idea was that there's a growth in suicides amongst young women, and to show the different ideas ki how that particular topic has, the particular reason behind that has evolved. So you'll have to not cram up these diagrams, but understand ki agar if there is a question about change, about transformation, about growth, you can put this as one of the constructs here. The third kind of construct is that about when there's a lot of comparison in terms of complementary or contradictory stuff. So, for example, there's always a very recurrent question about the balance between ethics and law. You have a XY axis wala thing. We read it in maps, ki positive axis, negative axis and all. So you have these two extremes of ethical and unethical, and one being legal and illegal. So you put in examples here. Something which is ethical and legal could be prohibition of child labor, or illegal and which was ethical, probably example of WikiLeaks. Illegal and unethical, probably slavery. And which is legal but which is unethical, again very debatable AFSPA law, and there's no warrant for search, seizure and everything, like basically without any warning somebody could be killed as per the AFSPA Act, which could be in the lens of ethics, which could be unethical as well, but it's legal under the provisions of the law. So this is a pattern that you can use when you have to compare between two extremes of two dimensions and put four kind of scenarios in this piece as well. Similarly, if you have you had a question, I'll read that out. We had that in 2022. We had a question on there are rules and basically the rules and regulations are there. It's common for everybody. But there are people, some civil servants who adhere to it and some do not. And some within the constrictions of rules and regulations still do a lot of things and a lot of good jobs, but a lot of people could not. So, uspe how could you balance? Well, basically, you have like two things to balance, right? In terms of now here, laws and ethics, here you have two concepts. One is your performance and one is ethics that you have to control. So, another framework could be something like this, which you're not talking about extremes, but something in terms of ranges, like something as low and here something as high, and something here as high as well. And I'm telling here it could be ethics and here it could be performance. So for this, when I'm saying ki when somebody whose ethics is low and performance is low, basically is a liability as a civil servant. I mean, pertaining to what the question had asked. So for example, when there's a performance is low, but ethics is high, then non-optimal use of resources. And when you have the performance is high, but it's unethical, that could be a corrupt acts, which could act as a grease to the administration, but not ethical. Then the ones who have, which have like both on the high levels, you could have an example of some bureaucrats who have done ethical jobs, but with high performance and high outcomes as well. So in these type of diagrams, you can put out various examples as well, like where you could see key, for example, this would have been a corporate governance question, and ethics and function could have been at both these cases. You could give a lot of insider trading ke cheeze. Wahan pe probably the performance might be high, but ethics might be at low. And when we have talking about ethical corporate governance, which is pro-planet people, that could be at the highs of both ethics and performance. So this is again one of the constructs that you can use when you have a lot of either contradictory or complementary virtues or values that you are comparing to. The next one is stakeholder, let's say. Pretty easy, but you have to like re-engineer your mind that it's not just meant for only one topic, because हम एक diagram देख लेते in our notes and we just feel कि ये topic पे यही हो सकता है. And the idea is to tell you कि you can use the similar constructs for a lot of things. I'll see, like very simple one is when you're diagramming this Venn diagrams, and like basically this is about using Venn diagrams as for illustrating a lot of stakeholders. And a common, if you see one, for example, we have is sustainability, let's say, which is a pretty common, which must be in a lot of our notes as well. It's the convergence of people, planet and profit. To show that industry and sustainability go hand in hand, it's a very common diagram that a lot of us do. But similar thing, if let's say we have a concept of UCC, so then also something could be drawn. But what happens is that कि हमारे दिमाग में रहता है कि this diagram is only for sustainability or corporate governance, but you'll have to re-engineer your mind and you'll have to extract the construct only and mold it to whatever the question is asked. So for, let's say, for UCC, we have the stakeholders being religion, the social values and the constitutional ideas. And you show this is Article 44. And you give examples, ki what are the ideals, good things about religion, good things about constitutional principles and social values which make UCC as a desirable component as well. So this is how one of the stakeholders approach could be there. Again, a lot of times we see that it's asked what are the important tenets of a good bureaucrat or things like that. How should bureaucrats look like? So you always have a stakeholder approach like this. Ki what are the pillars? And draw this. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This, for example, if you'll have to write the 4 E's of bureaucracy. This could be ethos. This could be ethics. This could be equity. And this could be efficiency. So this again is one of the ways how you could show stakeholders as well. Another way to show stakeholder could be like this. A transformational stakeholder, for example, when you are giving a lot of case studies, for example, and where you see there is a debate, a lot of focus is being given on, let's say, 2 parties only. Let's say there is a decision that a DM has to take, and he's been given that whether you take decision favored to party A or party B. But you tell that it's not enough to take the stakeholders A and B in consideration, but you'll have to enlarge the stakeholders here. So apart from A and B, you have, let's say, the constitutional ideals. You have the morality as you have to see environment as a concept here. So this you to make that particular topic more holistic, using such stakeholder wala diagrams, you can keep it. So I'm trying to tell you that what are the philosophy of this diagram, so that you can mold it to whatever questions possible, that you can use this and save your time and increase your creativity quotient. The 5th construct is like when you have anything like bridging the gap, or if something is left to be done, basically the philosophy being that. So we had a question in 2022 as well, which said that what do you mean by good governance? How far recent incentives in terms of e-governance steps taken by the state has helped the beneficiaries, and discuss with suitable examples. For which you'll have a lot of points. E-governance, something that everybody prepares, but something if you could write as a graph, like basically what does e-governance is doing is there we have a particular set of expectation from the government or particular deliverables by the governance, but वो नहीं हो पा रहा, the reality is something different, and e-governance is try to make and fill that gap. So when there's some component which is filling the gap, उसके लिए this diagram is apt, is like, for example, I have something like speed of governance, speed or efficiency of governance. And here is citizen satisfaction. I say this is the expected speed and this is the reality. And this gap is filled by e-governance. Similarly, if you have to see what is something that yet to be done, for example, in environment, we are yet to achieve the net zero goal, right? So for that similar concept, I could do that. For example, I have India's climate target and I have energy need. And what could be the gap? It could be about renewables, it could be about life by Honorable Prime Minister, or green energy. So things like that. So it's very effectively you can deliver your message through this construct when you're saying there's something that you have to fill in a gap for. The sixth one probably is a philosophy for interlinking allied topics. For example, let's say we have something on the role, how the relationship between governance and administration and the citizens work. Like effectively, if you want to tell something about good governance per se, here we have the government as one of the stakeholders. One, we have the administration, and here I have citizens. And I have to interlink between things. So one common framework being this, and I have to say what is, so citizen is giving tax and you get the services from the administration and the funds are provided by the government. So when you have like multiple stakeholders in one of the functions where you're now saying about governance per se, you can interlink what is the type of thing that is interlinking between them. So that is one of the philosophies that you can use as well. So similarly, we have a lot in ethics. We have the concept of integrity. And three stakeholders for integrity here are basically thoughts, beliefs, and action. And you have to show what is the interlink between them, and give examples that are thoughts and beliefs and actions and thoughts, how they are aligned and giving integrity as a final product, and that you can show with examples as well. The seventh philosophy here is about when there's a perpetual cycle. So let's say we are talking about effect of globalization on women. So we have something as at the center, globalization plus women. What do we show is that we show two parts of it. One is a positive and was a negative part. So we show कि globalization positive part में more MNCs and FDI, more women employment, and financial freedom, and then we show empowerment. And then negative mein also if we have to show is that poor working condition for women, deteriorating health, less financial freedom, and then we show that struggle or something on those lines. So this is something that you can draw when you have two aspects and you'll have to do a perpetuity cycle. This something that you can show about exploitation, about online bullying. You can talk about poverty, social welfare, concept of freebies, how it leads to freebies could be for development, and also freebies could be a culture of dependency. So on topics like that, you can use a perpetual cycle as one of the constructs. So the idea is to was to deliver something which we know, but we do not actually theorize it in a way so that that internalized us and we use it in exam organically. It's very essential to understand that कि हर कुछ रट्टाफाई नहीं हो सकता. There are certain things that you'll have to understand the philosophy behind it, and that would make you do a lot of things impromptu वहाँ पे. So but you have to do the preparation behind that. The preparation is noting down in 7 philosophies and probably thinking ki how you can put this in various types. So tabhi, let's say you'll get a topic on anything. You'll get a topic on feminism in ethics, or you'll get something on environmental ethics, on care ethics, care economy. It's on those lines which we do not make a diagram for. वो किसी के भी notes में नहीं होता है. But if you'll be able to make a diagram based on the meta constructs that we and the philosophy of the diagrams that we discussed now, and put that in any random topic that the question paper throws at you, then you have that 1 mark, 2 mark extra in the ethics per question, and that creates a lot of difference. And there's a scope for increasing your ethics mark or a lot of these GS marks using this diagrams, and which would give a lot of uniqueness to your paper, because a lot of people will miss out on doing this, and there you'll have an edge, and there you can increase your marks. So we'll come up with similar videos as well, where we talk about something very unconventional, but I think a lot of aspirant would understand how it's important and how this could make a difference. So thank you everybody.